listeners. Welcome to Plano's Political Pitbulls podcast. I am Esther.
And I'm Ruth.
And we are back from a week off. We took a little time off for the high holy days of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. We are currently in the middle of Sukkot, and we will be closing out the marathon of Jewish holidays next week. It's a very busy time of year for us, so we took a little time off last week, but we are back. And today we are going to talk about two issues that have come up in Plano. The first issue is zoning case 2024-003. This is the JCPenney property at Headquarters and Legacy. We talked about this case during episode 16, so if you missed that, please go back and listen to it. I'll just give you a quick summary real fast here. The developer wants to add multi-high-rise apartment buildings of 20 stories in height, a few office buildings. It would be a total of 1,400 rental units for apartments, a hotel, a restaurant, a couple of other high-rises, and of course it does not conform to the comprehensive plan. This case was tabled a few weeks ago because the developer did not do their homework. So the planning and zoning tabled it, and it is coming back tomorrow, October 21st, 2024 at 7 p.m. in Davis Library. And if you don't want to see 1,400 more apartment rentals, please go to the website plano.gov/1335/active-zoning-petitions and click on the zoning case response link to leave a comment to oppose this case, and of course, leave your 2 cents. Also, you can go to the P&Z meeting and speak against the zoning change. The meeting again is tomorrow, October 21st, 2024, 7 p.m. at Davis Library in the program room. Now, if you would like to speak, you must register online at plano.gov/speaker registration. plano.gov/speaker registration. And if you register to speak, please go and check with the secretary that she has you down, because sometimes she doesn't, even though you may have registered. You must register before 4 p.m. the day of the meeting. So if you do not want to see this monstrosity come to Plano, please go down and voice your opinion. Our next item has to do with the Plano Event Center. Now, if you got your Community Impact newsletter in the mail for Plano, which all Plano residents should have gotten, on the very front page, the headline is Street Courtyard Projects Prepare Plano Event Center for Hotel, Future, and Retail. So,
Actually, it just says future retail. Not and.
I'm sorry I added an and. Okay. Picky.
Well, it's an important distinction.
Okay. So, the city, according to the article, wants to spend, or is spending, I should say. They already spent it. I'm very shocked I missed this item. I did not see it at a city council meeting. I did not see it on the consent agenda. How did I miss this? I don't know, but I did. So they want to spend $7.75 million to put in a grid street pattern, underground utilities, landscaping, and a courtyard specifically for the event center. The courtyard would be attached to the event center. And now with all of these infrastructure improvements, the grid street pattern, the utilities, the idea is that somebody will come along and build a hotel.
Problem is, no one wants to.
Well, according to the event center manager, Mark Jarrell, said all someone has to do now is build a hotel.
Maybe you should have made the event center big enough for a hotel to be warranted. I didn't even know. Can I just say I did not even know that Plano had an event center? I mean, granted, I don't really go to many events, let alone events that would require an event center, but still.
Are you sure you did not go to what was that called? It was where you they were selling old music, CDs.
I don't remember if that was in Plano or not.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, Plano, you're not advertising. Clearly, we have a young person here who did not even know we had an event center. That could be part of the problem. Okay. So let's give a little history. The event center was built in 1990, so before little Ruth here was even born. And the plan was always at some point to have a hotel. So the city tried to lease the land to Radisson as part of an economic development scheme for practically free. And they, in turn, were supposed to build a Radisson hotel. Now, granted, this is a multi-billion-dollar company that is owned by Marriott, which is itself a multi-billion-dollar company. And, of course, the deal went through, and Plano's Political Pitbull did an article about that very economic development deal that, surprise, fell through. Because as we said, if somebody wanted to build a hotel, they would just build a hotel because they thought there was enough business to warrant it. So from the article, it sounds like what they want to do is have a convention center area like Irving has, where they have a moderate convention center. It's pretty big. It's not as big as, let's say, Dallas Convention Center or Fort Worth or Houston. It's medium sized, and it has a hotel, and it's got restaurants around it. I think they're even building apartments around it. Don't get any idea. Let's not go there, okay? And there's just one little problem with this. You see, Irving is only 15 minutes away from the DFW airport. Mm-hmm. So if you have a very large event, like a convention where you have many people flying in from all over Texas and all over the nation, yes, that could handle something like that. We, on the other hand, could not, because our little event center can only hold 1,000 people in its largest room.
Also, no one's going to really want to fly in and have to drive all the way to Plano from the airport. I'm sorry, not many people are going to want to do that.
It's not that far.
Still, if you had a choice between going to Irving, staying in Dallas, or going to Plano, which would you choose?
I think it would depend on the size of your convention. So I will give you an example. The GOP, the Texas GOP, can only have their conventions in major cities. San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, Fort Worth. I think that's it. Did I mention all four of them?
San Antonio?
San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, Fort Worth. I think
that's it.
Yes, so they can only have it in one of those 4 cities. Why? Because they need a convention center that holds 10,000 people. Because they can easily have 9,000 delegates, and then you've got guests, and then you've got the speakers, and then you've got all the media. They need a convention center that holds 10,000 people. Our little convention center ain't holding 10,000 people. Most convention centers don't hold 10,000 people.
It's not holding any convention or event that people are flying into, for the most part, unless like you have a wedding.
Yes. The Irving Convention Center could not hold 10,000 people. Now, the Irving Convention Center is for medium-sized groups. You're maybe a few thousand people. Ours, the main room only holds 8,000 people. That's good for a gala, a Lincoln Day dinner, a wedding, a bat mitzvah.
But going back to my thing about distance, even if you're having an event that doesn't require, a very large hall, Irving's is a little bit bigger. It's also closer. Which would you choose? Plano's little small one that's further away from the airport, or Irving's a little bit bigger and it's closer?
Well, I would go with Irving only because of the distance from the airport. People are not going to.
That's where I'm going with that.
Usually, you're talking, we're about 45 minutes to a half hour out from the DFW airport. Not too far. We are holding Skate America in Allen. Allen Ice Skating Rink is holding Skate America. And that you've got people coming in from all over the world. And that's, again, about 45 minutes from the airport. But that requires a little bit of a specialty because you need an ice skating rink, which not everybody has. So I think mostly it's going to be based on size.
They're not. So the thing I'm saying is it doesn't have size to justify the distance. So then it comes down to distance because it's smaller. So if you're having a small event, you could choose Irving or Plano, really. It doesn't matter. You can always have more room than less room, Well,
I don't even know if, for example, there was a women's forum that was at the Irving Convention Center, and the Plano Event Center couldn't hold it. There's just not enough room.
How small is this thing?
It's pretty small. It's got a couple of ballrooms of varying sizes. It's got a small little meeting room, and that's basically it.
I'm just saying that it has nothing to justify the distance. Because people will be willing to travel if it had something to justify it, if it had something more to give than the Irving one does.
The reason why it's called an event center and not a convention center is because you hold special events there. Weddings, parties, bar mitzvahs, small group meetings you could hold. And they also cater. They have their own catering.
But that's usually things that are like local. Like you're not going to typically have many people flying in.
Maybe for a wedding. But that's not going to be enough to
warrant a hotel.
Well, exactly. And there are hotels on site, but within drivable distance from the event center. Close driving distance, 5 minutes away, not even. So this is not big enough. And if somebody wanted to build a hotel, they would have done it in 1990 or any time between then and now. I mean, the fact that Radisson, which was going to get the land for basically free to lease, did not build a hotel tells me a lot. Here you are, we're giving you the land. Build your hotel.
I'm not going to get a profit out of it.
At the end of the day, no, they're not going to make a profit. Businesses know how to do math. Okay? They know how to do math. They have to fill up rooms. Every room that they have that goes empty is lost money. They can't have that. So if they are not having enough events, enough large-scale events, which they simply don't have the room for. They don't have the room for it. I'll give you another example. So a women's group has about 12,000 members. Now, not all, and they have a convention every 2 years. Now, not all 12,000 members come to the convention. Usually they get about under 5 to 1,000. This center is not big enough for that group because that group has breakout workshops. They have caucus meetings where they have to meet. They need at least 32 small separate meeting rooms. This doesn't fill the bill.
So basically, if they want hotel that badly, they gotta make the event center bigger.
Oh, don't give them any ideas.
I'm just saying, that just sounds like what's happening.
And if they want to, here are some of the things that in the past that this center has had. They have had a quilting show and a crafting fair. They've had holiday bazaars there. They've had anniversary parties, weddings, bat mitzvahs, Lincoln Day dinners, galas. I have another question. Why is it the job of a city to even have an event center?
I don't know. Almost every city just has one. I don't know why.
Every city does not.
I said almost.
Have one. Not even almost.
Every city does.
A city-owned event center?
Austin has one. San Antonio has one. Houston has one. Dallas has one. Fort Worth has one.
Yeah.
Plano apparently has one. I'm running out of cities to think of.
These are large cities.
That's what I'm saying.
First of all, we're not that large. But, all right, let's go there. Why does any city, whether it's a convention center, event center, why is it their job to run or have this type of business?
Well, I don't know why it's their job, but I know why the center exists. It's so people can have these gatherings.
But isn't this in the realm of the private sector? What is the job of a city? What is the job of city government?
I don't know anymore.
Originally, what was the job of city government?
To
the basics.
Build roads, police, and the fire department, build schools.
Yeah, yes, okay. Well, we kind of have a separate thing where we have the school board and we have the city council. They're separate, but yes. Right, the basics. Your public safety, roads, things of that nature. Going into the event center business is not on the list. It is not necessary for a city, large, small, medium, to run these things.
Well,
private entities do this for a living.
Couldn't this classify under, and this might be their thinking as well, couldn't this classify under having public spaces for people to gather, kind of like parks,
Yeah, but this place is not for free. They charge you have to pay a lot of money to use the event center.
Wait, but then you're paying double because the tax dollars were used
So
to...
the idea, and it's the idea, yes, tax dollars went to build it, but the idea of this is sort of like the rec centers, where they are supposed to be self-sustaining. Money that comes in from the fees to use the event center, have the food, whatever, go to support and pay for the event center. Now, if the event center should, for some strange and unusual reason, not have events, it's got a bad year, guess who's footing the bill to make up for it? The taxpayers. Because they're not like a business. If a business had a catering house, okay, or place you hold a wedding, and COVID happened, many of those things fell. You notice ours is still standing.
Wait.
Mm-hmm.
Now, okay,
Question.
This changes things, because... So... Hold on, you broke my brain for a second.
Broke her brain?
No, I'm trying... So, who's running the center?
City.
Okay. So, you're paying the city through taxes. And then when you go to the event center, you're paying the city again for the event center. Even though tax dollars were also already put into the event center to begin with. This is backward. No, what? Okay. What? I get what you mean now by why did the city need to do this. This sounds like the city is trying to go into a business, but it's not completely a business because there's no actual boss, because technically the city owns it, but but it's not.
There is a manager. Okay, hold on. There is a manager who manages the event center. All right? I've mentioned his name. Okay, so he runs the place. All right, but it is owned by the city of Plano.
So it can never shut down, exactly.
Not unless the city council shuts it down.
Which they never do.
Which they're not going to do. Exactly.
They'll just pump money into it.
Yes. So if the event center has a bad year and can't pay its bills, unlike a business, the event center can say, City Council, we can't pay the light bill. We need your help. And the City Council can take money, give it to the event center. Just like they do any rec center.
So like I said, you're basically paying double in order to keep it open.
Well, if they have a bad year. I mean, on a good year, it should be self-sustaining.
In theory.
In theory, yes. That's right.
Do you see why my brain was broken for a second? This is like jumping through a million different hoops.
Yeah, think of it like the rec center. So you pay a fee to use the rec centers in Plano. Those are not privately owned. Those are city-owned. So we pay taxes to keep them open. And in theory, they're supposed to be self-sustaining from the fee you pay to go there. But again, if they need a large repair, guess where that's coming from? That's coming from the property taxes. That could also come from a bond. I mean, there was a bond for the one of the rec centers in Plano to fix their pool because their pool needed renovation or something like that. Yeah, it's not like a park where the park, you can go, you don't have to pay an admission fee to go to the park. And the city pays for the upkeep of the park through your tax dollars. This is basically a double whammy.
Well, that's what I thought, because normally when the city makes something and the city owns it, it's a public space that you can gather in, and it's being paid through tax dollars. You don't typically have to, like a public school, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to pay an additional fee to go there.
Mm-hmm.
You're already paying for it with your tax dollars.
Right. No, here you could theoretically, if tomorrow the event center needs a new roof, they don't have money for a new roof. They come to us, they come to the taxpayers and say, we need a new roof, help us pay for a new roof.
This is so backwards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Why do they have to overcomplicate something that could be so simple?
I don't know. I think something happens to their brains after they get elected.
Yeah.
I never understood why we have to have these things. Any of these things. There are event centers or places to hold events all over the city that are privately owned. Okay? You want to have a wedding? There's catering halls. There's hotels. You could use their space. You want to have a meeting? There's hotels with meeting spaces. You want to have a concert? Guess what? Over at Legacy West, there is a concert venue. We don't need these spaces.
And again,
yet we have these spaces.
And again, going back to like, what are they offering? By them having that fee, it essentially puts them into the competition, of the other event places that you also have to pay for. So then you have to weigh in, what's the cost? How big is it? Versus if it was like a park, I'm not saying that I would want it this way. I mean, I think it probably would be better if it was private, but let's just theorize. In this scenario, that I thought it was, but apparently it's not. If it was like a park or like a public school where you don't have to pay that fee, it's already paid for through tax dollars, you don't have that factor, and so maybe more people would be more open to using it. You get where I'm going?
Yeah, I got what you're going.
So they potentially, again, negate their selling factor for existing.
Say again?
They have no reason to exist. They have no selling factor in a sense. Like, why should I pick you?
Oh, I see.
You don't have the distance in terms of airport. You don't have the size. And then you don't have the cost. Why should I pick you?
Right. Why should you pick them? Maybe they have better food. Maybe the chef is better. I don't know. And it ain't cheap. They're pretty competitive with their rates. It's not like you're getting a better deal. You're not.
That's what I'm saying.
No, we're just competing with our other privately owned businesses. Same thing with gyms and recreation centers. Why do we have to have a rec center? We have YMCAs. We have gyms. There are private. Why do we have to have rec centers? What?
I mean, don't get me wrong, they're nice, but they're not necessities.
I have never used one. You've been there for birthday parties.
I've been to at least, I think it was one or two, either for swimming or tennis, or both.
Yes, you took tennis at the High Point Tennis for a time.
And then I also did a swimming club at. No, that was in Dallas. Never mind.
That was at a private facility in
Yeah.
Dallas.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was.
And so, but yeah, you did tennis for a time at the tennis courts. But again, well, so that specific, what you did was learning how to play tennis, so we had to pay a fee for that. That was not free.
Yeah.
But you can go and use the tennis courts.
Yeah, I've done that too. It's been a while, but I've done that.
Right. But there are private tennis courts. You use those too.
Yeah.
So,
They're not really any different.
no, they're not. It just costs the town money. There's no government purpose for them. The only one of the reasons why they want the hotel next to the event center is for the hotel occupancy taxes.
Of course.
So, but here's a very important thing to know. The city cannot use the taxes it collects from hotel and motel stays on anything it wants, which I don't think is right. But no, they can't do that. They have to spend that money on things to bring people to the city so that they will stay in a hotel. So, have you ever seen these festivals we have? We have the Asian Festival, we have the Cultural Arts Festival.
I've heard of them. I've never been to one.
No, me either, because there's usually a fee associated with it. And
I just don't like crowds.
I don't like them because I'm already paying with my tax dollars. So now I got to pay again.
Yeah.
No. I don't like to pay for things twice. Okay? Now, granted, I'm a resident and I don't usually stay at a hotel or motel, but my in-laws have. So they use the tax dollars from the motel hotel to put on these events. It's like a circle. It goes in a circle. We put on events like the Plano Balloon Festival. We went to that one.
Yeah.
Put on the Plano Balloon Festival. People come to the balloon festival and they come from far away to see all the big balloons. They have to stay at a hotel, so then they pay the hotel motel tax. So then we put on more events, so then people come and stay at the hotels and they pay the hotel tax, and then we get the money and we put. You seen the circular motion here? It's like one hand is washing the other. You know? So that's what it is. It's all about the money. It's all about the Benjamins.
Of course it is.
Yes.
It's always about that.
And I will say it can be very frustrating because you can only spend that money on certain things like the Balloon Festival or the Arts Festival or something or another like that. And you can't spend it on roads, on traffic lights. Like, well, how are these people getting here? Aren't they driving on roads? Don't they walk on sidewalks? They used some of the money from the hotel motel tax to put up those signs that say, Willow Bend District and Legacy District. Have you seen these signs?
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. I might not just have paid attention, but I might have seen it.
Yeah. So they put up these signs like you don't know where you are already.
Well, maybe you don't.
Well, I don't know. We have street signs that say, we're here. They're like like the Plano West District. Just look out for them. You'll see them. They list, and they have arrows and stuff. I don't know. A lot of people didn't like them. A lot of people thought it was a waste of money. I thought it was a waste of money. I was like, and everybody was like, well, we can't use it for streets or sidewalks.
So like, we got nothing better to use it for.
And we've sort of run out of ideas. So this is what we've come up with.
We got to use it for something.
I don't think if you don't use it, you lose it. I think once you get it, you keep it.
Asking government to not spend money is like asking a dog to not eat a treat right in front of them.
Oh my goodness. That's a good one. I like that one. Well, we'll see what happens. I have a feeling a hotel is not going to come on its own. I'm going to leave you with this little story. I have a story for you. So, have you ever heard of the Lincoln Highway?
Maybe.
Okay, maybe. So, for those who have never heard of the Lincoln Highway, way back in the early days of the automobile, okay, we did not have roads that went across the country. Roads were mostly built locally. And a lot of times, in many areas of the country, you had no roads. Your roads were gravel, sand, dirt, okay? So the automobile comes out, and people obviously want to sell more automobiles. And one man, he opens up a dealership because he thinks that this new invention is just going to take off, all right? But it's difficult to get around. And a lot of people are driving just for fun. They're not driving to get to point A to point B. So this very entrepreneurial guy who wants to sell cars, he says, you know what we should have? We should have a road from New York City all the way to San Francisco. Do you know how he paid for it?
How?
Well, he did not go to the federal government. No. He didn't even go to a state government. No. He went to other guys in the automobile industry.
He did it the hard way.
He went to the tire companies, and he went to Ford himself and said, look, if we could pool our money, get capital, and we can build a road all the way across the country, people will travel more, they'll buy more cars, more people will want to travel, they'll buy more cars. I really think this thing is going to take off, and people are going to need roads. So he got all of these very wealthy guys together, and they pooled their money, and they built a road from New York all the way to San Francisco.
Wow.
And part of that highway is still in Manhattan on 42nd Street. And the highway is still there in some places. and you can still drive on it.
Does this have anything to do with the Lincoln Tunnel?
No.
Oh, that's something different.
Totally different. No, the Lincoln Tunnel is totally different. And they called it the Lincoln Highway after the president. But here you have a bunch of guys who saw a need, who saw this invention that was they knew it was going to be big. It was going to be huge. And more people were going to start driving. And they said, people need roads. They need modern roads to drive on. This flat surfaces so that the cars can drive so it won't get stuck in the mud or the sand or the dirt or whatever. And they didn't ask for anybody's help. They did it privately. The road was free. It didn't cost you a dime. There was no tolls.
Because they were going to get their money back through the automobiles.
They were betting. They were taking a risk that more people were going to buy cars.
Some of the best businessmen do that.
Yes.
They take risks. High risk, high reward.
Exactly. And it paid off. And they didn't need any government to do it. Now, I am not saying that we should have all of our roads built privately.
That would kind of be a bit silly.
The point of the story, the moral of the story is to do something as basic as building a road, you do not necessarily need government. All right? You do not need government to build an event center. You do not need government to have a golf course or any other kind of recreation that you may want. But what you need is an entrepreneur who sees the potential to have customers willing to come, give him money in exchange for a service. And
that's the problem they're having right now with this hotel, because nobody sees the potential.
Exactly. If they saw that they could make money,
they'd be jumping at it.
Somebody would build it. And government needs to stop dealing in what it does not know. Private industry. Let the private industry do its thing.
They're not businessmen for a reason.
Government, stay in your lane. This is not your lane. If it were up to me, I would sell that event center tomorrow to the highest bidder. And say, please take this off of our hands. But I'm not. It is not up to me. So, we'll see what happens. I don't think much is going to happen.
No.
Well, that's going to be a wrap for us, and that is it for today. This is Esther.
And this is Ruth.
For Plano's Political Pitbull, signing off.